Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. So in a few days we have the upcoming Tuesday primary on Tuesday, obviously May 12th, and there are two states whose primaries are taking place in the states of Nebraska and the state of West Virginia. So in today's video I'm going to break down some of the primaries that are coming up in these places and all the elections, or a lot of the elections taking place on Tuesday, to get you up to date on what is happening on these nights. So with that said, despite there only being two elections or two states that are up on Tuesday, there are a lot of elections taking place here. There are from anywhere from House races nationally to state House to state Senate to U.S. Senate to governor. There's really a lot of stuff taking place here. So first we can start with Nebraska, and Nebraska actually has a lot. So first things first, the House races for Nebraska are very important. There are roughly about three House districts, or not roughly, there's exactly three House districts in Nebraska. The third district with Republican Adrian Smith is essentially locked in to be a safe Republican seat. The first district, where Representative Mike Flood is also safe Republican at the general election level. But the second district is going to be very competitive. This district is currently held by Republican Don Bacon, and now with him not running for re-election, it's a district that's been trending to the Democratic side in recent years in population growth, and this could be the time the Democrats flip it and win back this congressional seat. Just to show you the election results of this district from 2024, it only voted for the Republican Bacon by 1.9%. In 2022, Bacon won it by 2.7 on this current map, and then before that, when it was redrawn, Bacon won it by 4.6. So clearly in the last two elections, this district has been very competitive and will look like it's going to play a very important role in 2026 in determining which party takes the House. And again, just to be clear, it's the second district in Nebraska. So for the second district, the primaries on both sides. On the Democratic side, there are three candidates running: Crystal Rhodes, Denise Powell, and John Kavanaugh. I do believe there are two other candidates as well in Kishla Askins and Van Ararakis. John Kavanaugh has been the Democrat that I say has the biggest name identification, and heading into this race, I would expect John Kavanaugh is probably the favorite to win this Democratic primary. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see, but he's the one that I'm keeping an eye out for the Democrats in this race. As we're here, we'll look at the first district as well, even though it is safe Republican at the general election level. Two Democrats are running in Chris Bachmeier and Eric Moyer for that race, and for the third district, Democrat running is Becky Still, so seems to be running unopposed in that race. On the Republican side, the first district, Republican Representative Mike Flood, the incumbent, is running for re-election unopposed. In the third district, the incumbent Adrian Smith is running unopposed as well. In the second district, only one Republican is running in Brinker Harding, and the Republican that was in this race that was endorsed by Don Bacon, I believe his name was Brett Lindstrom, did actually drop out of the race, taking away a top Republican candidate. So Brinker Harding in the general election for the Republicans, if it is him, will still probably be pretty competitive given this district's closeness in the past few elections. But given that it is a midterm for 2026, with President Trump's approval ratings currently sitting right around 40.7%, the Democrats have a strong chance of winning here, and I would expect the Democrats to win. But it's going to be very, very close in this district. So those are the three House primaries up in Nebraska. While we're doing House races, we'll take a look at West Virginia as well. West Virginia is kind of similar to Nebraska in the fact there are two very red districts. There's not going to be a competitive one, though. The first district, which is held by Representative Carol Miller, is listed as safe Republican, and West Virginia's second, with Riley Moore, is also listed as safe for the Republicans. We can look at the House map from 2024. It was a 40-point win for Miller in 2024 in the first, and Moore won by 41.5 in the second district in 2022. Similar results. Miller won by 37.9. The Republican before that, Mooney, won by 31.1%. So two very red districts. As for the primaries, in the first district, two Democrats are running, Britta Aguirre and Vince George. They are fighting in that primary. In the second one, there are three Democrats running: Ace Parsi, Stephanie Tamana, and Stephen Wendelin. Those are the three Democrats in that race. On the Republican side, Carol Miller does face a primary challenge from Larry Jackson, but as the incumbent representative, I'll expect her to win that one. And in the second race, Riley Moore is running as the incumbent unopposed. So West Virginia at the general election level does not really seem to be too competitive, and that's pretty much going to be all about that for the House side of things. The only competitive House race of these from West Virginia and Nebraska is clearly the second district. Now, Nebraska does have actually, though, a very competitive Senate election that's up for grabs. And one of the reasons that's very competitive was what we saw from the 2026 U.S. Senate race, where independent Dan Osborn faced off against Republican Deb Fischer, and Fischer won, but only by 6.7%. On the other special election, Republican Pete Ricketts won against the Democratic candidate by 25.2%. But in this race, it's important to mention that Dan Osborn is indeed running again. And we can see if there is any polling for Nebraska yet on Decision Desk. There's not any polling, but we can look at the Senate elections in Nebraska and see where things currently stand. Because Dan Osborn is the independent candidate. On the Democratic side, there is 2 Democrats currently in the race, but there is the possibility that the Democrats may be able to drop out and endorse Dan Osborn in this race if they decide to do so. As for the general election, it's listed as likely Republican, and Dan Osborn is seen as the main opposition to the Republicans in this race. There's only been 4 polls conducted thus far, all of which from Democratic pollsters, so you do have to take these results with a very large grain of salt. But Pete Ricketts versus Dan Osborn seems to be a pretty competitive race. The most recent poll, which is Impact Research, a group that is sponsored by Osborn's campaign, shows Ricketts at 48, Osborn 47, and 5% undecided. So it's going to be interesting to see how these primaries ultimately shake out. On the Democratic side, it's 2 Democrats running, Cindy Burbank and William Forbes. I'll have to wait and see how that one goes. In the U.S. Senate, Pete Ricketts is running against Eric Mortimer and Todd Noble, though fully expect Pete Ricketts to win. For the Democratic side, I would expect Cindy Burbank to win as well. There is, I believe, a thing going on right now with Dan Osborn's preferred candidate in this race being Cindy Burbank and not William Forbes. Osborn's been calling William Forbes a Democrat that would, I think, hurt his chances at defeating Pete Ricketts. There's a possibility Burbank can drop out, but Forbes doesn't sound like he will. Please correct me if I'm wrong, if I got any of that wrong, but I do believe that's the situation there. So this primary on the Democratic side could be important to watch for as well. But obviously with Nebraska's Senate race, Pete Ricketts versus Dan Osborn, all eyes turn to the general election once these primaries are over. The governor's race in Nebraska could be actually interesting as well. The governor won election in 2022. The Republican Pillen won by 23.4%. But there was a poll, I believe, not too long ago that showed this race actually may be decently competitive. So let's take a look at the 2026 elections here. We'll pull up Nebraska. We'll look at the general election. Yeah, the only poll that just came out just a few weeks ago now from Public Policy Polling, another Democratic pollster, showed Pillen, the Republican, at 38%, with the Democrat at 33%, and the independent candidate at 12%. So even though with 17% undecided. So even still, Nebraska is usually very red, and the governor's race probably won't get competitive. A recent poll has shown there is at least a possibility that maybe it could end up getting competitive. So these primaries are going to be important as well. For the governor's side, Larry Marvin and Lynn Waltz are the 2 Democrats. As the Wikipedia page showed, that poll included Waltz as the Democrat, so Waltz could be favored to win here, but we'll have to wait and see, obviously, for that primary to shake out. The Republican side, Jim Pillen, the incumbent, is running against Gary Roche and JT Todd, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes, so I expect Jim Pillen will win that primary. So that can get interesting as well. Nebraska has an attorney general's race that is up. The Democrat candidate is Jocelyn Brasher. The Republican candidate is the incumbent Mike Hilgers. On the Secretary of State race, there's a Democratic primary between Lee Simfel and Democrat Sarah Slattery. The Republican Secretary of State Bob Evnen is running for re-election against Scott Peterson, so that primary will have to play out as well. Nebraska also has a auditor, a Republican primary, with the incumbent Mike Foley currently running unopposed. Treasurer, there is both primaries going on there. Dan Ebbers, the Democrat, is taking on the Republican Joey Spelsberg, who is the incumbent in that one. So a lot of those top-of-the-line races in Nebraska, and we do have some more as well. We do also have a Senate race that is up in West Virginia. Now, I haven't talked about this one too much because it's probably going to be a very safe Republican win, but the West Virginia Senate race was, we can look at here, and Jim Justice just won his race in 2024 by 41 points. Shelley Moore Capito won her race by 43 in 2024, so very likely this race is going to stay red by probably above 30 points when everything is said and done. Still, there are 3 Democrats running, and Jeffrey Kessler, Rachel Anderson, and Rio Phillips on the Democratic side to advance to the general. In the U.S. Senate side, the Republican U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito is running for re-election. Alexander Gassrud and Brian McKinney are also running, but fully expect that Shelley Moore Capito will win that race. There are 3 other Republicans running as well, and David Perkey, Jeanette McNulty, and Tom Willis. So that Senate race is going to be important to keep an eye out for. In Nebraska, there are a ton of mayoral elections taking place as well. These are, I do believe, primary elections in all of these, but they're neutral. They're not Republican or Democrat, so it's just 3 candidates running in these primary elections here. In Auburn, Beatrice, Cozad, David City, Falls City, Humboldt, Mitchell, O'Neill, Papillion, Pierce, Plainview, Stromsburg, and Wymore. I'm not going to go through all these in depth because I'm not too familiar on these races, but I will just click on each one and show you these candidates that are running. If you want to pause the video and look at these candidates more in depth, maybe if you live in any of these areas, obviously please feel free to do so, but I'm just going to show you all of these now. We do have some upcoming races as well, I believe, for West Virginia that are general elections for mayoral races as well, but first we're going to go through these ones and just show what they are. Now we're on to Mitchell. Go to O'Neill now. We can look at Papillion. That race. And also the map doesn't show exactly what part of the state they're in, I don't believe. Or maybe it does. No, it does actually for the, it does put it in gray, so actually that's pretty nice. Plainview. We have Stromsburg, which is down here in Polk County. And we have the mayor of Wymore. We do have 2 general elections up, or we have a few general elections up for mayors in West Virginia. The Chester mayor election is up with just 1 candidate, Edward Wedgwood. The Wardensville mayor's up with just 1 no-party candidate in Elizabeth Orndorff Sayers. Clarksburg mayor has a Democratic primary underway with Mateen Abdul Aziz and Wayne Worth. And the Clarksburg mayor on the general election side, Tyler Hart and Jeffrey Barnhart. Ripley mayor, there is a general election of 3 candidates facing off, Dwayne Pugh, Richard Gobble, and Steve Donahue. Bell mayor, there are a lot of mayoral elections, so again, I'll just go through these quickly just to show them because we're going to be here a very long time if we don't. There is West Virginia, Charleston mayor. Charleston, one of the larger cities there, with Republican and Democratic primary underway there. There's a South Charleston mayor, Republican primary as well. New Haven mayor, Granville mayor, Star City mayor, Bethlehem mayor, and Auburn mayor. We also have Pennsboro mayor as well, Wayne mayor, Elizabeth mayor, Williamstown mayor, and Mullins mayor as well. Lastly, just a few individual statewide elections. There is Public Service Commissioner Democratic primary in Nebraska with Wendy DeBoer. State Board of Education 5 in Nebraska, which has 3 candidates running. I believe this is a nonpartisan race, so no Republican or Democratic labels here, but there are 3 candidates running for the 5th. The 6th candidate has Sherry Jones, the incumbent. 7th district has Elizabeth Tegmeyer, the incumbent, and the 8th district has 2 people running in Lou Ann Goding and Sharon Hutcherson. So the 5th and the 8th State Board of Education seats are the 2 that have competitive races underway there. West Virginia does have a Supreme Court of Appeals Tom Ewing seat. Tom Ewing is running against Bill Flanagan in that race. In the Supreme Court of Appeals, Gerald Titus's seat, Gerald Titus is running against H.L. Kirkpatrick and Laura Faircloth. And Intermediate Court of Appeals, Daniel Greer's seat, Greer's running against Jim Douglas as well. So those are a lot of the statewide races. There are also about 180 state house races, 61 state senate races, as well as about 590 other races that are just considered to be other races that are more local elections and stuff. But I think that pretty much sums up the gist of it for the Tuesday's primary. Obviously, if you have anything else you want to put in the comment section or any insight on any of these races, if you're more familiar on these than I am, please feel free to leave that all down below. Also, stay tuned as I have multiple videos coming out over the next few days and few weeks, usually 1 video a day, that if you enjoyed this video or similar videos on my channel, I would really appreciate it if you could hit like and subscribe and stay tuned for when those videos come out. For now, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please remember to hit like and subscribe, and hope to see you in a future video.